Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. We're diving into a really interesting and important topic today. How do you know if you're truly good at poker or just lucky? We've all had those moments, right? When we win, it feels like we've mastered the game, and when we lose, we tell ourselves, just bad luck. But let's be honest, poker is much more about skill than luck. So today, we're going to break down 7 simple ways you can figure out whether you're genuinely improving at poker or if you've just been riding a wave of good fortune. Stick around and let's dig into it. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like us, and by supporting us, you will improve our education. 1. Can you stay cool when you lose? First up, and maybe the most crucial point, how do you handle losing? Here's the thing. Every poker player, no matter how good, is going to lose hands. Heck, the best players in the world lose hundreds, maybe thousands of hands over their careers. Losing is inevitable. What separates the good players from the bad, though, is how they react to those losses. Think about it. Do you get frustrated and tilt after losing a few hands? Or can you maintain your cool, keeping a level head, and continue playing with a strategy? Good players know that poker is a long game. It's not about winning every hand, it's about making the right decisions over the long haul. When you lose, do you analyze why you lost? Do you reflect on whether it was bad luck or a bad decision? A key sign of improvement is being able to lose without letting your emotions take control. If you're the type of player who stays calm, studies their losses, and doesn't rush into trying to win it all back in the next hand, you're showing maturity in your game. Compare that to someone who loses one hand and instantly becomes reckless, betting more than they should, trying to recover what they lost. This is what we call tilt, and it's the downfall of many otherwise decent players. So, if you can take a loss and still make smart decisions in the next hand, you're already ahead of a lot of players. 2. Can you read your opponents? This next one's a biggie. How good are you at reading people? One of the key aspects of poker, especially at a high level, is understanding your opponents. Poker is as much a game of psychology as it is about the cards in your hand. It's about noticing patterns, understanding betting behavior, and figuring out when someone's bluffing or when they actually have a strong hand. Let me ask you, can you look at a player across the table, observe their body language or betting patterns, and make an educated guess about what kind of hand they're holding? This is a skill that doesn't come overnight. It takes time, observation, and lots of practice. Now, when I say read your opponents, I'm not just talking about the obvious stuff, like if someone starts sweating when they're bluffing, although that can definitely happen. I'm talking about more subtle things, like how much they bet on certain hands, how quickly or slowly they make their moves, or even how they act when they have a good hand versus a bad one. For example, if you notice someone who usually bets small suddenly throws in a big raise, you can start to guess that they've hit a strong hand. On the flip side, if a typically aggressive player suddenly slows down, they might be trying to lure you in with a monster hand. The point is, if you're starting to read these little signals from your opponents, you're definitely improving. 3. Do you manage your bankroll wisely? Let's talk about something that's super important but often overlooked: money management. Are you one of those players who sits down at a poker table and just throws money around without thinking? Or do you set clear limits for yourself on how much you're willing to lose and how much you want to win? Good poker players are disciplined with their bankroll. They understand that poker isn't just about the cards or the players at the table. It's also about managing risk. If you're smart, you know never to bet more than you can afford to lose. And when you're on a winning streak, you don't let that get to your head, risking everything on one big hand. If you're the kind of player who sets a budget for how much you're willing to lose in a session and sticks to it, you're already ahead of the game. This means you understand that poker is a long-term game. Losing one hand, or even a few sessions in a row, won't break you financially, because you've planned for it. On the flip side, if you find yourself constantly chasing losses, dipping into money you didn't plan to spend, or feeling the need to get back what you lost right away, that's a big red flag. Being reckless with your bankroll is a sign that you're playing based on emotions rather than strategy. 4. Are you patient? Patience. It's not the flashiest skill, but man, is it important in poker. Good players know that not every hand is worth playing. If you're the kind of player who gets bored and feels like you have to be involved in every single hand, you're going to lose money. Guaranteed. In poker, sometimes the best move you can make is to fold and wait for a better opportunity. The pros know that they don't need to win every hand. They just need to win the right ones. Are you the kind of player who can sit at the table, fold several hands in a row, and wait for a really strong starting hand before making your move? If so, you're showing a lot of discipline, and that's a huge sign of growth. Patience also applies to how you handle the game as a whole. Are you willing to play for hours, steadily building your stack, or are you always looking for that one big win to make your night? The best players understand that poker is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about waiting for the right hand, and when that hand comes, being ready to capitalize on it. So if you find yourself folding more than playing, and making moves only when the odds are in your favor, that's a great sign that you're improving as a player. 5. How well do you make decisions under pressure? Poker can be incredibly stressful, especially when the stakes are high. So a huge question is, how well do you handle pressure? It's easy to play well when there's nothing at stake or when you're playing for fun. But what happens when you're in a high-stakes game and everyone's watching you? Do you crack under the pressure, or can you stay calm and make the right decision? Think about it. You're deep into a hand, and the pot is huge. Your heart's racing, you're sweating, and you've got to decide whether to call a massive bet or fold. These are the moments where poker separates the amateurs from the pros. A good player can think clearly, analyze the situation, and make a smart decision, even when the stakes are high. Pressure moments can happen in any poker game, not just the big ones. If you're learning to stay calm, focus on the facts, and not let the adrenaline get to you, you're improving. 6. Are you constantly learning? Here's a big one. Are you always trying to get better? The best poker players in the world never stop learning. Even after years of playing, they're still reading books, studying new strategies, and watching other players to learn new tricks. If you're someone who's actively seeking out ways to improve, whether that's through watching YouTube videos, reading strategy guides, or reviewing your own hands to see where you went wrong, that's a clear sign you're serious about the game. In poker, there's always something new to learn. Even if you've been playing for years, the game evolves and new strategies come into play. If you're committed to continually learning and refining your skills, you're well on your way to becoming a great player. 7. Do you understand the odds? Finally, let's talk about something that might sound boring but is actually one of the most important aspects of poker. Understanding the odds. Poker is, at its core, a game of probability. The best players aren't just relying on gut feelings or intuition. They understand the math behind the game. If you can calculate the odds of hitting your hand and compare it to the pot odds to decide whether it's worth calling or folding, that's a massive advantage. Understanding the math behind poker allows you to make smarter, more informed decisions rather than just guessing. For example, if you know the odds of hitting a flush or straight on the river and you know how much is in the pot, you can figure out whether it's a good idea to call a bet. If you're consistently making these kinds of calculated decisions, rather than just going with your gut, you're on your way to becoming a great player. So there you have it. 7 easy ways to figure out if you're good at poker. Remember, it's not just about winning, it's about the way you approach the game. If you can handle losses gracefully, read your opponents, manage your money, stay patient, make sound decisions under pressure, keep learning, and understand the odds, you're on the right track. Being a good poker player is a journey, not a destination. It requires continuous growth, self-reflection, and the ability to adapt. So keep practicing, keep challenging yourself, and most importantly, have fun. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this episode helpful and that it gives you some insight into your own poker game. Join us next time for more tips and tricks on becoming a better poker player. Until then, keep playing smart and have fun at the tables.